Alright, so bottom, bottom. Now with just those two notes, we're all thinking about the same exact thing. Jaws, right? Most people, when they think about sharks, they think of being this big bad villain that is Jaws. However, what most people don't know is that this perception of sharks being merciless killers is actually false. They are the same exact as any other animal throughout the animal kingdom. They have their own food source, which mainly is seals and fish, and not humans like everyone wants to believe. Now, it being summertime, that means a whole bunch of families are going to be going to the ocean to escape this summer heat. And regardless of the facts that we do know about sharks, people are going to have this overwhelming fear that they're going to be attacked by a shark. But what most people don't know is that the chances of being attacked by a shark is actually 1 in 11.5 million. Now let me say that one more time just so it really sinks in. 1 in 11.5 million. You're actually 30 times more likely to get to be struck by lightning than to be attacked by a shark. But to go ahead and ease people's minds, over the summer I'm going to be able to provide some precautions that you should take to just reduce those chances even further to get attacked by a shark. So by the end of the speech, you'll know some future tips to take when you're going to the ocean that are just going to lower those chances of coming into contact with a shark. So you're going to the ocean for the weekend, right? And you want to know what steps you can take to reduce those risks of coming face to face with a shark. Now, we can't control when and where sharks go in the ocean, but what we can take control of is what our physical appearance looks like. So one of the main things you want to go ahead and do is actually refrain from wearing any sort of shiny jewelry while in the water. These shiny jewelry kind of glistens in the water and it attracts the sharks. And they'll go ahead and use that to go ahead and investigate what it is, because it could be an unknown object to them, and they'll go ahead and or they'll think it's some sort of future prey. And I know you're thinking, well, investigate, why does that mean attack? Believe it or not, sharks, when they go ahead and investigate something, they do so by taking a test bite. And that's what most of the time that we're seeing these shark attacks against humans is they're actually just curious as to what it is, and they'll go ahead and test bite it. And another main thing that you want to go ahead and take into consideration is actually the swimwear that you're wearing into the ocean. You want to go ahead and refrain from using any sort of really bright colors, because that's going to confuse the shark. They're going to think that, you could be a possible fish or a school of fish, and you don't want that. A main example right here would be very bright colored swimsuit. This is what you kind of want to avoid wearing. Also, another thing that you want to go ahead and take account of is if you have any sort of open wounds or cuts. You don't want to have any sort of open wounds or cuts when you're going into the water, because as a lot of you guys know, sharks do have a very keen sense of smell. So unlike humans where we use our nose for both breathing and smelling, sharks' nostrils are they're just solely used to smell. To give some perspective, some sharks can detect 1 drop of blood in the area the size of an Olympic-sized swimming pool. So now that we've gone ahead and talked about what our physical appearance how it can affect a shark, now we want to go ahead and take a look at the actual ocean and water conditions. Have you ever gone to the ocean and noticed that the water was a little bit murky and not those crystal blue waters that we want to see when we go to the ocean? These are the exact type of waters we want to go ahead and avoid. It's going to affect both your and the shark's ability to see each other, and that could increase the probability of coming into contact with a shark. You also want to go ahead and take a notice of any sort of animals that are in the water as well. I know it can be fun thinking like, oh, there's dolphins and seals and fish everywhere, but with that, seals and fish are a main source of food for sharks. That means if there's an abundance of those kind of animals around, it's also going to attract sharks as well. And seeing dolphins in the water, dolphins and sharks have the same sort of prey, so if there's dolphins around, there's a high probability that their sharks are too. Another thing you want to go ahead and, when you're in the water, is to take notice of any sort of boating going on. If there's an abundance amount of fishing boats, that means there's going to be a lot of fish around, which is probably going to draw a lot of sharks in as well. And with a whole bunch of fishing boats, you got to think about what they're using to attract those fish. They're using bait, they're using chum, which is also going to attract more sharks as well. So now that we've kind of talked about our surroundings, about what we can wear as well, we should talk about what kind of actions you should take while you're in the water. Now, I know when people go to the ocean, they're wanting to have fun, and that's what definitely you should do. But however, with that, you want to be wary of how you're acting. You want to go ahead and refrain from excessive splashing to a shark that signifies and symbolizes a prey or a fish in distress, which can attract them to the area. And then when you're swimming, instead of having some sort of erratic movements, you're going to want to make sure that your strokes are smooth and even and not splashing around, because once again, that is going to attract sharks to the area, kind of symbolizing some sort of prey that they might be able to eat. And so since you're not wanting to symbolize as prey, a good example of this is kind of surfers. You know, they're on their surfboards, and to a shark, it looks a lot like a seal. And a great example of this is Bethany Hamilton. She was a surfer in Hawaii, and she was laying on her surfboard, arms out, and from a shark's point of view, definitely looks like a seal, so you can't really blame the shark for, you know, assuming that it is a food source. So, lastly, one of the main things you want to go ahead and do is make sure that when you are swimming, that you're not swimming alone. Sharks, when they attack, they mainly attack lone individuals, and so when you're with a group, it just decreases your chances of coming into contact with a shark. So now that you kind of known all the steps, I know you're kind of thinking, well, this is a lot to consider, going to the ocean, we just wanted to have a good time. But I want you to think back to the actual odds of a shark attack in general. That's 1 in 11.5 million. Those are your odds. You're actually more likely to die by fireworks than you are a shark. But just, I want you to know that sharks are a creature of habit. So if there's recent shark sightings in the area, don't go out into the water. Be wary of what you're wearing, check your surroundings, and know how you're acting in the water. Take all these into consideration for your next trip, and the next time you go to the ocean, you should be good to go. Thank you.